No, it was strange. I had a weird feeling when the opening credits started because honestly, when you suggested Terminator last week, I was like, right, okay, I'll have to, and I literally watched it like 2 hours ago. Like I left it the last minute. I didn't want to watch
Right.
it. It's like I don't know. It's not what I feel like, and I can't with these iconic films, like that sort of start some sort of revolutionary films that start some sort of thing that's never been done. Maybe
Yeah.
like they sort of become parodies of themselves, and if they've not been part of your childhood, and if you've not seen them before,
I
you
get you.
sort of, I when I think Terminator, I thought, right, these classic Arnold Schwarzenegger saying classic lines, and it's all going to be very whatever. But when it starts, you sort of actually realize that it's quite epic and quite serious. Like I feel like these iconic films in everyone's minds who hasn't seen them become comedies. Because you think of Terminator, I think of I'll Be Back, and I think of a parody
Right.
of that.
Yeah.
So I think comedy. It's a weird thing.
Because Arnie hadn't discovered comedy at this point either. You know,
No,
hadn't discovered that he was funny. I think this is one of his first film, wasn't it? Or his first
Well, he's young enough to be
role.
full frontal nudity at the start of the film, so he must be
I know,
young enough.
Buns of Steel. I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
he was having the time of his life.
Yeah,
that part.
and a perfect role for him.
I mean, no acting involved.
No,
Right.
I know. I mean, just I don't. It's a funny. I think what you just said, Darren, is really interesting because it's that I thought about that too. I thought this is a nostalgic treat for a lot of people watching the Terminator again, but for me, it wasn't nostalgic because I never watched it before.
Right, that's the thing.
So there was no nostalgia for me. It was just, but I recognised it as the elements in it as being the 80s, and that reminded me of things like Weird Science, where there was a couple of guys who made a perfect girl, you know, and Kelly LeBrock turns up, you know. I don't know if you've seen that one, but that would be in terms of 80s. There you go, you know.
Yeah.
But there was this. Yeah, that idea of even the music wasn't terribly nostalgic, but 80s music is nostalgic for me. But you have to have experienced it at the time for it to be nostalgic now, and so it didn't have that connection. But it did make me think there's an awful lot of stuff in there. What was interesting to me about it was like when little things, like when the guy goes to the phone book and he finds Sarah Connor in the phone book. And I was thinking, phone books? What an incredible concept, where you would have a book with everyone's name, address, and phone number in it. And you could just go into a telephone booth and just get anybody's number. Nowadays, you would only get a prostitute's number in there, and even they've got better security. You know, they're not giving away their address and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
So the actual thing, that the fact that these things existed at all now is amazing to me. You know, it's like, I can't believe you could just look up where anybody lived.
Well, I was
in a phone box. You know,
what I was most shocked about was that, you know, and I had in my head that the Terminator, the character, and Arnie is like all in this film, and it's nothing but him going around shooting folk, and he's awesome and badass and epic, and there's all these explosions and stuff. But I mean, he's hardly really. He doesn't do much, does he? He's essentially the baddie, you know. And then it's all about Kyle and Linda Hamilton's character, Sarah Connor.
Indeed,
that's.
It's a fantastic idea. The central idea is brilliant, and obviously, I think far too big for that movie.
Right.
You know, there's so much they could have done with that.
Today.
Basic premise, and I suppose that's why they've spawned so many things ever since. You know, because you can really examine it, and it's very Greek in a way. You know, the whole idea of this guy unwittingly sending his father back in time to father him and protect the mother. You know, and all this kind of thing. You know, so that's all quite interesting, you know, and I love the idea. I don't know if anyone's ever used the line "I'm from the future" to chat up women, but I don't know if it works.
Maybe it would work. I don't know.
Maybe people could phone in, you know.
Get us on Twitter.
Have they ever tried it? Have they ever tried that line?
Yes, I agree. I find it interesting what you're talking about. Like, it's not nostalgic for you, even though the sort of era is, you know. I find that when you show someone, you know, Star Wars or Back to the Future or even something as new as Harry Potter for the first time, who's never seen it before. So I didn't watch Harry Potter when I was younger. The first time I watched Harry Potter was like 2017 or something. My sister showed me it, and she's like quoting everything because she grew up with the films, and she's telling me all these moments that are about to come up and these
Yeah.
wee, Easter eggs in it that I would never known about and
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, that's
And I'm
what
just
I would.
like, yeah,
Yeah, I'd never force
um,
the Bond films on people for that very reason,
right,
because it was your experience of them is at the time and the place and the age you were when you saw them, the circumstances and how it excited you. You can never
yeah,
replicate that on an HDV
yeah.
television in the corner, and say, yeah, of course you can't, but
Yeah, one of Aaron and I's favorite films that we share is Revenge of the Sith, right? Because
mhm.
it's like it was a
Right.
Star Wars film that came out in the cinemas when we were 7 or 8 or whatever, right? And it
Aye.
was like the perfect time.
Yeah,
And Anakin's there, and Darth Vader
yeah,
comes, and Yoda's jumping about doing backflips, and there's all these really cool moments. So now when I show younger people Revenge of the Sith, even, one of the more recent Star Wars films,
yeah,
I'm just like, this is amazing. Wait till you see it. And they're just like, yeah, right. So, and I just think that's really interesting. I wonder if I sat and watched the Terminator with my dad or something who did grow up with it and see it in the 80s, I
uh-huh,
wondered if he would be like, wait till you see this moment with Sarah Connor and stuff. And would I have sat the way I did this past week and just be like, yeah, okay, that was the Terminator,
yes, uh-huh.